Hello, I'm Naveen Day, and welcome to another Bridge City News Special Reports, where we bring you the footage of the developments from the Ottawa Freedom Rally, as well as continued coverage of the situation down at the U.S. border crossing near Coutts, Alberta. While Parliament Hill may be the epicenter of the Freedom Rally, it actually spreads farther into the capital city. BCN's David Craig shows another convoy that is not part of the gathering at the Hill.
We found another spot where a bunch of trucks are. We're at the corner of 417 and the Vanier Pikeway. I want to show you what's been set up here. As there's lots of semis and people that are gathering here. They got a ton of firewood, fire pits. They got their own hockey arena right here. They got couches going on. If you follow me this way, they've got all their tents set up with fires going on. They even have little restaurants, bunch of barbecues. If you look in there, that's where they're cooking over there. So these guys are set up. Again, they're saying they're not leaving. They're in it for the long haul. And as you can tell, they've got set up, they got the whole perimeter that's going on here. And they actually have the support right behind us is a hotel, which they have the support of, which is allowing them to be here and saying stay here as long as you need. So we're going to enjoy some food. This is what's going on here at the corner of at the 417 and Vanier Pikeway.
As news of the freedom protests has taken center stage in Canada and around the world, it can be easy to forget that it's not just truckers that are essential. In the fall, Bridge City News brought you stories of healthcare workers that were being forced on unpaid leave and even terminated over refusing to get vaccinated or disclose their vaccination status. We caught up with one Ottawa nurse who was at the protests because he doesn't want what happened to him to happen to others.
So you're a nurse, you're saying?
Yes, I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for over 17 years. I've worked in hospitals for over 22 years. 5 years as a nursing assistant and 17 years as a nurse. I worked across 4 hospitals in Ottawa.
Are you still a nurse, or what's your situation right now?
Because I was not willing to get vaccinated, I was willing to comply with regular testing to make sure I'm negative. I was willing to wear a mask at work, wear my full PPE, but that was not good enough for the hospital. Even the premier of Dogford came and said, unvaccinated can work. My hospital chose to develop a harsh policy and not allow me to go back to work at all. So I got put on, had to be forced to go on unpaid emergency leave. And even on them, by the laws of Ontario, they were supposed to give us 3 days paid, which the hospital never did, which our union still is fighting. They had to get lawyers. Hospitals are refusing to even get that. Then I've been off work, not getting paid since October 15th. So I did apply for EI. I understand it took them 3 months to get back to me, kept putting under review, delaying, I had to call and call, be on hold for an hour, then hung up. Many hours I spent. And finally, they got back to me, the person, and I said, I paid my dues. Why rejected me? She quote unquote, the person on EI told me, you are like a drunk driver that gets into an accident, therefore the insurance is not responsible to pay for them. That's what the EI person. So I've had no paychecks, and on top of that, I still pay my expenses. I'm using line of credit. I still pay my child support, and I'm here making food, coming here, supporting all these truckers that are here for the same cause. I'm glad we finally got some big flag bearers. Someone needs to listen to us because they're willing to let nurses that are positive, testing positive, to go to work because they're vaccinated, and not the negative that I'm willing to test. What's good enough for them?
We hear a lot of things about how the news are saying things are winding down and people are starting to go home and that the trucks aren't. Are you noticing that? Are you noticing winding down, or are you noticing that people are holding strong?
People are holding strong. There's convoys being blocked from coming to the city. The problem is with this media, all this mainstream, CTV, all of them, they're all censoring, showing that 20 people that are just maybe doing some bad little evil, compared to the thousands that are having a peaceful protest. There's a lot of people still coming. It's not slowing down. And as more and more weekend goes on, there's going to be more convoys. But they've been stopped all around Ottawa. There's camps of convoys stopped. Police are preventing them from coming to Ottawa.
We shared with you earlier this week about how trucks are being allowed in and out of the protest area in order to keep supplies moving. And now, as you see in this next clip, BCN's Jeremy Prest speaks with supporters that are also helping out by supplying trucks with diesel and food.
First of all, where are we, and what are you guys doing?
We are in Ottawa, in Canada, where all over the world they're with us, okay? And we are here to help those guys because they are parked and they need diesel.
So, look at this. So you guys,
they cannot move.
Yeah.
So we're moving for them.
So you guys are topping up their gas because they're idling all day?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we're doing that, and PF and sandwiches and anything they need.
So,
They have my number, they call, and we come to help.
so why is it, for all the people wondering, what do you have to gain from this? Do you have anything to gain?
We want our freedom back. I was proud to be a Canadian. I want to be proud again. No violence. We're here for our freedom, and all the truckers, they are incredible. Yeah, we want our freedom back.
For all the Canadians.
Yeah, for everybody, not only for the truckers, because they cannot work and.
It's not for the
It's
truckers.
for everybody.
It's for Canada, the
Canada.
whole population.
Yes.
Oh, then.
Yes, and our children, and our great-grandchildren, you know, and we won't leave until it's settled, and until we have our freedom back.
Many politicians are being silent when it comes to whether they support or oppose the protests. Bridge City News caught up with a Conservative MP who has thrown her support behind the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. Lambton, Kent, Middlesex MP Leanne Rood says the support the truckers have received has been incredible.
We're talking tens of thousands of people lining roadways, lining bridges in support of this, and their message is freedom. And walking around here, it felt like a Canada Day, but times 100 here. And I've been in Ottawa for many Canada Days when I worked here previous to being elected. And the unity, the hope, the patriotism, the smiles on people's faces. And the hours I walked around, I didn't see anything hateful. That doesn't mean that there's not a few bad apples in a group, but it's important to remember not to paint everybody with the same brush. There's always going to be people who are going to speak out, who are going to do despicable things, show hatred, display symbols of hatred that I totally and utterly condemn, or display acts of misconduct and deface things, or like the War Memorial issue or the defacing Terry Fox statue. I condemn all of that, but that's not what I saw here. It was unity, it was patriotism, it was people proud to be Canadian.
Still on the ground in Ottawa, but moving to Wednesday afternoon, it appears that the convoy in front of Parliament Hill is thinning out. BCN's David Craig has the details.
Hey everybody, just want to give you guys a quick update as to what's happening here. As you can see behind me, there's a little bit more of an empty road that is starting to open up. I'm right here on Parliament Hill, right across the street. You can see Peace Tower there. It seems obviously as semis have to leave for personal reasons or other things they have going on, police aren't letting vehicles back in. So it is slightly thinning out in certain areas in front of Parliament Hill. Last night this used to be fully packed, but if you look down the road here, there's still semis that go that way. Just not letting any more vehicles back through here. So this is thinning out a little bit. We've noticed in a couple of other spots. I just want to keep the stories coming so you know all the movements that are happening. Also, if you look behind me, right there on the hill, it's the entrance where most MPs are going in and out of what's the active House of Commons right now. As a major vote just happened, lots of people coming through. We're going to try getting you some information onto what's going on. We know that obviously the Conservatives are having a big change in their leadership right now, and that's why there's a lot more foot traffic, a bit more police presence over here, as we've got a lot more of our politicians coming and going from the buildings here right on Parliament Hill.
As David Craig and the Ottawa crew continue to walk the streets of Ottawa, they say they're looking for counter-protesters so our viewers can hear their side of the story. As of Wednesday afternoon, they so far have not found any. Yesterday, Conservative leader Erin O'Toole called on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to meet with the truckers who have been opposing the COVID-19 mandates. Trudeau has so far refused to meet with protesters who have surrounded Parliament Hill and instead says Canadians are united in getting vaccinated.
Canadian manufacturers, the Federation of Independent Business, the Chamber of Commerce, the Conservative opposition, thousands of truckers for over a month have proposed solutions to the trucking shortage in Canada and the supply chain crisis, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has ignored this crisis, and even worse, he calls names for people that are raising these very issues. So, Mr. Speaker, my question is simple. Will the Prime Minister move past the division and agree to meet with some of the truckers impacted by his federal regulations?
The science is very clear. The best way through this pandemic is to get people vaccinated. That's how we end the disruptions to our supply chains caused by this global pandemic. That's how we get back to the things we love to do. That's why we've been unequivocal on the need to get vaccinated. And great news, Canadians across the country stepped up. Almost 90% of Canadians are vaccinated, including almost 90% of truckers, because we know that the biggest disruption to our supply chains happens when people catch COVID.
Earlier today, Conservative Party MPs voted to remove leader Aaron O'Toole from his role. You can hear more about that on our Wednesday evening Bridge City News broadcast. Conservative finance critic Pierre Pauliev talks about the few bad apples whom the truckers say do not represent them at the Freedom Convoy. Both Nazi and Confederate flags have been discovered at various locations of the protest in Ottawa.
Whenever you have 5 or 10,000 people who are part of any group, you're bound to have a number who have or say unacceptable things. And they should be individually responsible for the things they say and do. But that doesn't mean we disparage the thousands of hard-working, law-abiding, and peaceful truckers who quite frankly have kept all of you alive the last 2 years by filling your grocery shelves with the food that you eat and filling your homes with the products that you rely upon.
Turning our attention now to southern Alberta, two local politicians are going head-to-head in an online feud. Lethbridge West MLA Shannon Phillips spoke out against Lethbridge MP Rachel Thomas's stance on the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa following a post from Thomas saying she supports the truckers. In a post on Facebook, Phillips says Thomas is a disgrace to her office, adding that the MP just wants the pandemic to go on. Thomas was quick to respond, saying Phillips insists on perpetuating division and hate by painting a false narrative and using vile language to attack her. In a separate lengthy post on the MLA's Facebook page, Phillips wrote, quote, "It's clear to me that the Flew Trucks clan are unable to organize a protest, so let me help," adding that the truckers protesting should rally outside her office downtown, but make a stop outside Thomas's office as well. Thomas has yet to respond. The Alberta NDP is calling on the UCP government to apply for an immediate injunction to put an end to the trucker blockade at the Coutts border crossing. Tuesday afternoon, BCN's Angela Stewart heard from a trucker at the border who says they have no plans to leave anytime soon.
This blockade must stop today.
Alberta's official opposition wants the Kenney government to take immediate action and put an end to the blockade at the Coutts land border crossing once and for all.
Demanding the UCP government immediately go before the courts and seek an emergency injunction to end the blockade and reopen the highway.
Dozens of semis and vehicles have been parked down at the border for more than 72 hours, protesting the provincial and federal government's COVID-19 mandates. One trucker I spoke to says they're not leaving. In a statement to Bridge City News, organizers of the convoy say this is the time where Canadians are taking back the freedoms that belong to them.
Basically, we're isolated more than usual.
Semis and vehicles are lined up for miles down the highway, and this is heavily impacting the village of Coutts.
We'd been assured that they were not going to block any entrances, so it was a surprise when that happened. I don't know if it's intentional or not. The protesters have said, well, you can come through the barricade if you're local, we'll let you through. The protesters, I've heard some of them say, well, you have to put up with that. We've been inconvenienced for yada, 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 and it's the price of freedom. Well, pardon me, but we've been pretty free up to this point.
RCMP say that they've been trying to negotiate with the protesters and add, as of this morning, further action is being taken. A highway is considered essential infrastructure. It is unlawful to willfully obstruct, interrupt, or interfere of any essential infrastructure, and anyone who actively blocks a highway may be subject to arrest or charged under the Critical Infrastructure Defence Act of Alberta. Organizers of the convoy say so far no one has been arrested or towed away. For Bridge City News, I'm Angela Stewart.
Angela Stewart will have more for us from the Coutts border crossing on our Wednesday evening newscast. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney addressed the Coutts blockade on Tuesday, condemning the blocking of the border and calling for calm. BCN News Director Hal Roberts spoke with our legislative reporter and the Alberta correspondent with the National Post, Tyler Dawson, to discuss this in more detail.
Tyler, what's the Premier saying about this blockade?
Well, it's frankly a little bit of a mixed message. I think that's fair to say. He says on one hand that he agrees actually with the proposition that the cross-border vaccine mandate for truckers should be dropped. However, he did say that, it's time to lower the temperature for people to listen to the police and for everything to sort of calm down. Tensions running a little bit high in Coutts so far as we can tell, with some of the local residents upset about it. And obviously traffic through the region pretty much shut down as far as we know. So the Premier had, some strong words, but then also sort of, maybe trying to calm things a little bit by saying, look, I hear you, I sympathize with your frustration.
Now, would the Premier consider implementing that new legislation? Do you remember the one that was passed not long ago saying that you cannot interrupt with pipelines, you can't have blockades on our railways? Well, how about a major highway, coming through the U.S.-Canada border? That's right. And so the UCPs found themselves in a little bit of an interesting spot because, of course, they don't want to be seen as interfering in a police operation. For example, the Premier was asked on Tuesday whether or not he would consider meeting with the protesters. And he said, look, there's a police operation going on right now. I'm not going to get involved and sort of mess that up. And a similar sort of thing has happened with I think it was Bill 1, which is the bit of a mouthful, the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act. And so the RCMP in their statements about this have cited that act, saying that this protest is unlawful because of some of those provisions, in addition to possibly other charges under maybe the criminal code or highway traffic provisions. So that act is actually very much in play here. And Doug Schweitzer, who is I think, Innovation, Jobs and Economy Minister at the moment, was asked about it earlier this week, and he said that this is exactly the sort of scenario actually that the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act was brought in to address. So much of, I would say, what we see the police doing and what they're going to do is probably going to be informed by that piece of legislation.
To hear more from our legislative reporter, you can log on to bridgecitynews.ca and watch the full interview. Premier Kenney says he is encouraging travelers who wish to cross the Canada-U.S. border to avoid the Coutts crossing and utilize some of the other border crossings.
We would like to underscore that there continued to be opportunities to cross the border at 3 other ports of entry between Alberta and Montana, on Highway 2 at Carway, at Highway 89 at Del Bonita, and at Highway 41 at Wildhorse. I have asked Ministers Sani and Savage to reach out to the Federal Minister of Public Safety to seek expanded service and extended hours from the Canada Border Services Agency and through the Government of Canada from the U.S. Customs and Border Security officials, because we can expect that there will continue to be some interruption at the Coutts border crossing, perhaps for some time to come, as the RCMP deals with the road blockage there. And so we are seeking, as I say, expanded service at these other border crossings.
Now, it appears that the Convoy is actually helping some businesses. The owner of Hills of the Home Cafe in the village of Coutts says the Convoy at the border has been actually helping her business, as lots of people have been ordering food from the restaurant. Carolyn Dangerfield says she has been receiving support from the truckers who have come in to eat.
It's been very good, yeah, but I think the big thing is that my excitement is about supporting what's happening. Whether it impacted my business or not, that's just very minor compared to what they're doing today.
Bridge City News has learned that some of the truckers have now left the Coutts border crossing. As this is a developing story, we will bring you more details as they become available. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We will keep our boots on the ground in Ottawa, and here in the prairies, we will continue to bring those stories to you. Stay tuned to us on Miracle Channel for more updates and breaking news. And be sure to follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, I'm Naveen Day. Take care, and God bless.